So we're back at it. Fernando has already started underneath the hood. He's getting the power wires taken care of, trying to get those run so that we can, you know, get it mounted to here. I'm, like I said, getting ready to do a little bit of work on the radio, getting it test fitted into the dash, make sure the trim bezel works the way it's supposed to. Let's just keep going. Alright, so let's take a look at the dash bezel. This is the factory dash bezel. We're going to go to a double din, so we need to remove this bar here. Let's take a look at the Euro Speed kit. First off, it comes with the really nice instructions. These are an upgrade from the last kit we saw, so they're definitely improving the way these things look. You have the trim bezel, harness, antenna adapter, the cage itself, and of course they give you some screws, some crimp cap, and also a set of keys to remove the factory radio. We're going to save all that for a little bit later once we get to the wiring harness. Right now we want to concentrate on getting this guy into the dash. To do that, there again, we'll also set this back in the box right now because we're not going to need that. There are 4 screws. Go ahead and remove them. We're just going to go ahead and put them back into the cage so we don't lose them. These are the pieces that are going to attach to the aftermarket radio. Like I said, this needs to go into here. So what I want to do is kind of get an idea of what I need to sand off. So it looks like I need to remove all these holes here. Pretty much bring everything to this level right here. Now anytime you're going to do any sanding or cutting or anything like that, always try to do it from the back side and not the front side. You don't want to like be sanding and it rolls across here and nicks this up, or it goes across the cup holder. Another thing too, when you're cutting out a brace like that, start out farther than you need to. Just kind of bring the sander in and up at an angle. Okay, so there's a little nub right here in this area that sticks up higher than the rest of this. Make sure you sand it flat across the top as well as flat here, so that when you look at it from the side here, it's just one straight line going from this point to this point. Alright, so once you get it sanded, go ahead and slide in your cage. Alright, so now once you get the cage in, what you want to do is bend these tabs. Unfortunately, there's plastic all the way around where those tabs need to bend. So what they recommend is you drill holes where the tabs are so you can push them through. We're going to go ahead and use a roto-zip to do the same thing. What you want to do is make sure that all these metal tabs are sitting flush onto the plastic. Alright, so once you get all the tabs pushed in and it's nice and secure, all the silver pieces are touching the actual plastic, go ahead and take your trim bezel and we're going to go ahead and test fit it in place. Start from the top and push. And of course your cup holder should still work because this should sit below the cup holder. Alright, so we're test fitting good. Now we'll go ahead and put this back in the bag. We'll go ahead and get our radio slid into place. Do another test fitting, make sure that it opens and closes and all that. Everything seems to be good with this mount. The only thing that I'm going to do is add a little bit of double-sided template tape to this stuff here, plastic based. I'm gonna go ahead and add some of that to the top here and to the bottom here so that when we stick it in, it will actually stick to this. So just a little piece here, a little piece here. We want about halfway in so you won't see it from the front. We'll just set this aside for right now. so let's get to work on the harness. In the box, it gives you this harness here. Now in the box, like we said, it comes with the harness. It comes with the pigtail for the accessory to go over to the fuse box, which Fernando has already done. And also it gives you an illumination pigtail. Gone ahead and taped up all the wires we're not going to use and capped them off on the Kenwood harness. Now what that leaves us with is the 4 wires that this needs, which are the constant 12 volts ground, amp turn on and power antenna turn on. Even though the amp isn't in the car anymore, I don't know if there's anything else on that circuit, so we're just going to go ahead and hook it up anyways. It's not going to hurt anything if it isn't. We also need to add in a pigtail for our turn on. Alright, so now what that leaves us with is these 4 wires here. A reverse trigger, the accessory trigger, the amplifier output to turn on our aftermarket amplifier, and then also an illumination if we can find one. We're gonna go ahead and do now is put some connectors on these so that we can plug them into our wires in the car. The reverse lead coming from the light is going to have the power on it, not this. So we want to make sure we put the male end here, which essentially is the non-insulated end. Our accessory coming from the car is also going to be the same thing. It's going to have power, not the radio. So we're going to put a male end on this. The same is going to be true for an illumination. And then the remote turn on is actually being created from the radio. So that's an output. So we're going to put a female end on that. Now we're not just going to leave these hanging out if we can't find a connector. So we're going to go ahead and plug on our other ends that we can either hook up to a wire in the car or leave as a shield on the wire if need be. There we go. Now our harness is all set and ready. We're going to just go ahead and add 2 little zip ties here just to hold this together so it doesn't get caught in the sleeve of the radio. Now this guy is all set. Now I think we're done with everything on the bench. We can actually head into the car and start getting the radio and that part of the dash put back together. Alright, so we wanted to see if we could find an illumination, and the cigarette lighter here has a light on it. On the harness, there's a brown, there's a red, there's this blue-white. And a lot of the times in the German cars, there is an illumination here that we can actually use. And in this case, it's not going to disappoint. The blue-white wire is illumination, so we're going to go ahead and tap into that. Now, we're not using the cigarette lighter anymore because we have the USB located there. So the plan for the amp mount is to take this piece of ABS here, and we're going to drill 4 holes in it and have nuts that stick out through it, which will allow us to then go behind the carpet and have the 4 nuts stick out of the carpet that we can then take the amplifier over and bolt into place. What we want to do right now is start drilling holes and get this into the carpet. Now what we want to do is put some Velcro, the fuzzy part of the Velcro on the back of these because it's metal on there and I don't want these tapping against that. Now what we want to do is figure out where on here this is going to go. Now we're just going to take it all and make the holes bigger. Right here, here, and there's 2 more over here. Those are the mounts. So now we can just take our amplifier It's gonna sit just like this. We'll just have to put some washers and nuts on here. But before we do that, what I'd like to do is do a pre-check on the amplifier, make sure that everything is set the way it needs to be. So for this, we're gonna run the high pass off. We're gonna use the deck to cross over the front speakers. We're gonna have the high pass on for the rear, and we're gonna go ahead and set those, and we're just gonna start at 200 because they're 4-inch, they're small. We don't need a lot of performance out of them. We also don't want them to blow. We're not using the bass boost on this at all because it's not powering a subwoofer. We're gonna go ahead and leave the gains 1 and 2 all the way down to start out with. So now we can go ahead and get this attached and start wiring this thing into the car. So the only wires we didn't run were into the door. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna tap into the factory harness here to get those. We just need to figure out which wires they are. Gotta be that one and that one. All right, that was easy enough. What we need to do is just polarity check them so that we can hook up our wires the right direction. So we'll turn on our PT9A and we'll go test it at the door. For the driver's front door, it was a green, brown. The green, brown was negative. And on the passenger front door, it's a purple, brown. And the brown is negative. Now we're trying to avoid cutting the harness here, so what we're doing is we're just stripping it back like we normally do and soldering the wires into the harness. Now is the most critical time. We're gonna do a polarity test to make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be, and then we're just gonna sit back and listen to it. Play with the EQ and the crossover a little bit. Get this thing sounding good. Been working on this car for 3 days. And this is the day to decide to freaking cut the grass. I just wanna hear this car.
Antenna, man.
So right now the only speaker that isn't crossed over is the front doors. We're gonna go ahead and add a little bit of crossover to them. I'm just gonna actively put them right now at 50 Hertz just to kind of hear where we're at. I'm gonna go ahead and put it at 18 dB, so it's kind of steep. I'm gonna go back in here into balance. We'll fade us all the way to the front. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna play a little bit of pink noise just to get an idea of what this looks like. I have a basic idea of what the signal looks like. Let's go ahead and play some music. I need a new USB DMA1. This USB is bad, so we got to pull this out, put a new one in. There you go.
Kitty.
Cruising down the street in my 6'4".
I don't know why I love this song. This is the iTest mic from Audio Control. model number SA4100i. If you got an iPad, an iPhone, an iDevice of any kind, it's a great little RTA to have for setting up and getting a good idea of what you're doing as far as tuning it. Once you get into the ballpark, then you can go in and start tweaking. Now, the nice thing about these units, like this Kenwood, this has 4 EQ settings as far as what we can set up. We set what we, EQ1 was what we kind of thought it should be. EQ2 was more flattening out the sound. And then once we listened to those two, we tweaked them and made that EQ3, and then we made an EQ4, and then we went back to EQ1 and decided that one was terrible. So what we ended up with, we have different EQ settings that are set up so that we could A/B between the two as we made little tweaks here and there, go back and play the song, play another song. For the crossover for the doors, we ended up at 50 hertz, 12 dB. Underneath the hood, Fernando went ahead and mounted the fuse holder over here. We did a cool L where we attached it into one of these factory bolts here, so nice and secure. He's gonna go ahead and get this last panel in place because this is finally done. We have our RCA coming out over here, and then all of the power, speaker, and everything are coming out of this area here. So what we did is we ended up cutting a notch here into the panel that covers the brake assembly. We didn't want to make it impossible for anything to be serviced because we realized this is a Porsche, things are going to break, things are needing to be serviced. So we actually have like a U-bend behind this so that this wiring harness can move up out of the way so they can get to work on this. Everything is real service orientated and easy to move. If this needs to come out for whatever reason, there's enough wire there for it to do that. The crossovers are up underneath here. They're actually hidden, mounted to the factory amplifier mount. So everything under the hood is all set. Got all the panels back in. The amplifier is looking sharp. We have our CarPlay radio on the dash, the 9904, USB, air's moved down, pocket replaced. As you know, all the speakers are in. And this guy is done. This was a long haul. Every speaker mount had to be made from scratch to fit into the factory grills. The dash kit had every little thing in this was just like lots of fun. Of course, we almost forgot we need a backup camera on here. You having fun over there?
Yes.
Cool.
So much fun.
All right, guys, this one is over. As we said, thank goodness. It's been a fun couple days. You guys like to know how long these take? This would have taken 2 full days, because I mean, basically we had 2 half days. So it would have been a 2 full days if we would have had it, but they're on their way to pick it up. I'm gonna end it right here, guys, as usual. It's been fun, it's been exciting. You guys have a great night as always. We'll see you later next time. Bye. On to the next one. And it is the middle of the day, so there is gonna be another one. We're not gonna film it because I'm tired. See ya.